Hey, so last year around this time, Huawei launched the Huawei Mate X, and this is pretty much their reaction to the Samsung Galaxy Fold, except it folds the opposite direction. Yes, that Mate X actually has a screen wrapped around the entire device, and it starts as a regular phone and then unfolds into this giant 8-inch tablet. But a lot of people were concerned about the Mate X because, well, it's a plastic OLED display, and keeping something like that in your pocket when it's not protected while closed was a little bit worrisome. So now we're here about a year after Huawei launched the original Mate X, and Huawei's made a lot of improvements to the phone and is releasing it as a new device. So now we got our first look at the Huawei Mate XS. Now, the Huawei Mate XS looks a lot like the Huawei Mate X. It's pretty obvious that Huawei really liked the design, but they've made a few changes to it to make it a little more up-to-date and probably a little bit safer since it's still made of that plastic OLED display. Now, the first and probably most important thing is the fact that Huawei added an additional polymer layer onto the display to make it a little bit safer. So obviously, people were worried about putting that phone in their pocket because they were worried it was gonna scratch up, it was gonna dent like crazy. But Huawei says this new polymer layer that they've added to the display should help a lot with the reinforcement. And speaking of reinforcement, they've also reinforced that hinge. So if you saw the original Huawei Mate X, you know that there's a little button that you press that allows the hinge to swing open. But last time it felt a little loose. It kind of felt like it was just like a one-step hinge, but this time it's a lot smoother of a hinge and it's gonna feel a lot better to fold and unfold. Now there's some speed improvements in the XS as well. Now over at IFA, we saw a kind of revised version of the Huawei Mate X, which came with the new Kirin 990 processor, which is of course a 5G processor. Now this isn't a millimeter wave processor and it doesn't support millimeter wave, but it is sub-6, and that is important because sub-6 is the 5G standard that's pretty much in most of China and in a lot of Europe. And in fact, the Huawei Mate XS is going to be launching in different parts of Europe, which is pretty interesting as well. The Mate XS also has some updated batteries. So there's now 2 batteries in this phone, and they combine to make a cell that's about 4,500 milliamp hours. And they have 55-watt charging in this phone, which is pretty substantial, especially since something like the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip is still only 15 watts. So that's really nice to see. Another pretty major improvement in the Mate XS is the cameras. Now the Huawei P30 Pro and the Huawei Mate 30 Pro both had these RYYB sensors, which is a different type of pixel array versus what you'd normally see on a traditional smartphone. And because of that, it's got quite a bit better low light performance. So Huawei decided they wanted to bring that over to the Huawei Mate XS. So now that has a big 40 megapixel sensor, which is using that RYYB array. Besides that, you've got an 8 megapixel telephoto sensor, which is a 3x optical zoom, and it can do up to 30x digital zoom. And you've got a 16 megapixel wide angle sensor. Also, Huawei's included a 3D depth sensor in this phone, which should make it a little bit easier to do things like portrait mode and getting depth out of things, so that's also a really nice addition. Now, unfortunately, the Huawei Mate XS does not support Google Play services because it seems like China and the United States haven't really figured out that dispute yet, but it was kind of expected considering the Huawei Mate 30 Pro didn't get that either. So right now, unfortunately, we still don't know pricing or availability for this phone, but we do know that it is coming to different parts of Europe. So that is pretty exciting to see. If you were looking to get the original Mate X, but you just couldn't get your hands on it since you could pretty much only get it in China, this is your chance. All right, guys, that's pretty much all we have for you today. Make sure you stay tuned to AndroidAuthority.com and the YouTube channel because we've got a lot of foldable devices and a lot of other devices that usually launch around this time coming very soon as well. So until next time, I'll catch you in the next video.